Hello, my name is Chris Zinner, and today I'll be discussing environmental influences on offender trends and patterns. As human beings go through life, we experience events and situations that develop and mold our personality, ideas, beliefs, and our general view of the world and what is considered social norms. This process starts the day we are born and is very active as we grow into adolescence and mature into adulthood. By the time we reach our 30s, this process has slowed down, mostly because by then we're pretty much set in our ways and beliefs and our ideas and values. But these experiences that mold our behaviors and attitudes are predicated on the environments in which we place ourselves or find ourselves. When discussing antisocial behavior and crime trends and patterns, there are many environmental influences that can mold a person into adopting an antisocial form of view or behavior. Some of these environmental influences are, but are not limited to, social media, peers, family, location, social and economic class, weather, poverty, and the presence of law enforcement. In this presentation, I will discuss 4 environmental factors that influence antisocial behavior. Those 4 factors will be family, poverty, location, and peers. First one we'll come to is family. Family is probably one of the biggest influences on personal development, especially on our youth. Our family is who we have most contact with during those stages of rapid self-development. The family is where children are supposed to learn what's right and wrong, or acceptable or unacceptable through punishment and discipline and praise and reward. Children's minds are like sponges during these stages, and they watch their parents and imitate them. And based on what they experience, they form lasting impressions of what is socially acceptable. Communication and family bonds. Family does not sit down and eat together and talk and find out how each other's day went, or does not show any interest in what they are doing if they're having trouble. According to Gernifke, children who exhibit aggressive or criminal behavior often have links to families with poor communication and weak family bonds. So this can help contribute towards our adolescents adopting antisocial behaviors if the parents show no interest in the child's life. That'll help develop a self-image or self-worth, lower the self-worth of the child. Parental supervisions. Kids need discipline. If the parents do not care what the child is doing or never around to intervene when the child is doing something wrong, then the child will think because there's no bad consequence associated with his actions, that his actions must be socially acceptable. If the parents don't know who their kids are hanging out with, is another example of parental supervision. The child could be associating with a delinquent group of peers who are leading them down the wrong path. Another subcategory of family would be parenting behaviors. How the parents conduct themselves in front of the kids has a huge impact on the child's behavioral development. According to social learning theory, when a child observes aggressive behavior from watching parents, siblings, or both, the child then grows up thinking that aggressive behavior is normal and socially acceptable, like drinking, smoking, fighting, or breaking stuff when you're having an argument. Abuse and neglect will be the last subtopic of family. Abuse and neglect has been shown to be a major cause of antisocial behavior in children and later in adulthood. According to Holmes in 2001, the statistics show that children are at a 50% greater risk of engaging in criminal acts if they were neglected or abused as a child. Abuse will make a permanent impression on the child's psyche and their view of this world and society. Next category we'll talk about is poverty. We're talking about low-income families. Low-income families are usually restricted to where they can live. This lack of options usually means the family will become exposed to stressors such as higher levels of crowding, noise, and poor housing quality, i.e. crowded inner city projects, for example. It seems that these low-income families are also at higher risk of experiencing stressors such as greater levels of family turmoil and family separation and more exposure to violence. All these stressors can have a big impact on a person's outlook on life and influence their behavior. According to Russell, exposure to multiple accumulating stressors may be an important pathway through which poverty increases children's risk of poor psychological outcomes such as antisocial behavior. Many of these children will carry that behavior into adulthood. Location. Location of where you live and work will have an impact on crime trends and patterns. Inner city projects that are crowded and have much higher civilian to police ratio will produce a higher chance for criminal activity and antisocial behavior than living on a farm in rural Kansas. The community you live in will have an impact on crime rates, whether they are socially organized or disorganized. Social disorganization, according to Sampson and Groves, is the inability of a community structure to realize the common values of its residents and maintain effective social controls. Some examples of lack of social controls would be like neighborhood disorder, weak social communications within the neighborhood, and low levels of informal social control, i.e., residents don't help regulate the behavior of the youth in the community. Let them just kind of run wild and do what they want. If people might just mind their own business and don't intervene when they see something that's going on, that could lead to social disorganization within the community. Next one's going to be the peers. This ties kind of back into parental supervision. Parents knowing who their children are associating with. The people you associate with can have an enormous impact on your behavior and development. If the crowd you hang out with condemns antisocial acts or if it praises or encourages them, it will be dependent on which way, especially a child's behavior will develop towards, either social or antisocial behavior. Studies have shown that majority of crimes committed by teenagers occur in groups, and that youth's association with deviant peers may be the best predicator of participation in future and potentially more serious forms of antisocial activities. Conclusion. What we see and experience within our environment molds our view of the world and how we choose to conduct ourselves within society. Family, poverty, location, and peers are just a few of the many environmental influences that can lead a person to resort to antisocial behavior. That concludes my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.